Here we go. Here you see the cover of the book. The Electroacoustic Telegraph Sounder, 1861. There are many possibilities for starting points when attempting even the most basic history of portable sound. We've chosen to begin our coloring in survey with the Electroacoustic Telegraph Sounder, an improvement upon the original telegraph sounder invented by Alfred Vail, co-author, or some would suggest, sole creator of the Morse code system, around 1850. Vail worked with Samuel Morse to perfect his telegraph system, which transmitted electrical signals across long distances to send text messages. Since the telegraph only transmitted signals and not sound, the Morse code alphabet, see the key on the next page, a series of long and short pulses known as dits and das, allowed the signals to be interpreted as language. On the receiving side of a telegraph message, a telegraph sounder would magnetically click the dits and das so the person receiving the message could hear them. In 1861, Alexander Bain devised the electroacoustic telegraph sounder, isolating the sound made by the telegraph machine directly into the ear of a single listener to keep the contents of the message private. This one-to-one relationship between sounding machine and listener set the precedent for an isolated, independent listening of recorded sounds. The Berliner Gramophone, 1887. While Thomas Edison may have invented his phonograph a decade earlier, it was German engineer Emil Berliner who invented the circular flat disc that became the first truly worldwide standard for carrying recorded sound from place to place. Edison's phonograph etched sound onto wax cylinders, but Berliner's gramophone etched its sounds onto originally glass discs, which could then be used as master recordings from which duplicates could be manufactured, kickstarting the modern recording industry. Also, Berliner bought the rights to a painting of a dog named Nipper listening to one of his gramophones, which was entitled His Master's Voice, which he then used to advertise his records and playback machines, the same painting that would eventually go on to become the logo of HMV shops. Telephone earbuds, 1891. No, Steve Jobs didn't invent earbuds. That distinction goes to French engineer Ernest Mercadier, whose bi-telephone device miniaturized the electronics necessary to electrically play sound directly into the human ear via tiny speakers wrapped in rubber. The rubber tips helped block out external sounds, providing new clarity and isolation, an approach duplicated by many contemporary manufacturers of earbuds now. This was hands-free, comfortable gear, and a key milestone in the development towards truly portable recorded sound production and listening. The Magnetic Wire Recorder, 1898. If you've ever listened to a cassette tape, you've heard sound reproduced via a magnetic recording technology. But tape wasn't the first technology to magnetically record sound. That distinction goes to the wire recorder invented in 1898 by Danish engineer Valdemar Poulsen. His invention, the telegraphone, recorded sound onto thin metal wire by passing it through magnets. Because the wire is solid metal, it needed to move extremely quickly past the magnets in order to capture the sound, resulting in extreme lengths of spooled wire. A typical 1 hour long wire spool was about 2,200 meters long. However, the wire could be as thin as a human hair, so it was actually quite a compact format, and was also re-recordable, unlike wax cylinders or phonograph records. During World War II, a secret branch of the United States military named the Ghost Army used wire recordings of battle sounds and equipment hauling played over large speaker systems transported around by trucks in order to divert enemy attention from real Allied troop movements. Although wire was briefly used for things like aircraft flight recorders and even for home use, it was dictation machines where wire got its market foothold, dominating the business world from the 1940s through the 1950s, until audio tape began to make headway. Wire continued to hold on to a small market niche until about the 1970s, by which point it was mainly used in flight recorders in unmanned spacecraft. Modern headphones, 1910. Inventor Nathaniel Baldwin created what is considered to be the first modern headphones on his kitchen table at home in Utah, allegedly winding a mile's worth of copper wire inside each large, over-the-ear ear cup, reproducing sound without the need for additional electricity. He connected the ear cups with two spaced bands, setting in place a design aesthetic that is still used today. Although no private businesses were interested in his design, the United States Navy was, becoming Baldwin's first customer after suggesting some tweaks to his original design. Baldwin made the changes but didn't take the Navy's advice to patent this new version, arguing that it wasn't a major improvement. The Navy wanted Baldwin to move his manufacturing from Utah to a plant on the U.S. East Coast. Unfortunately, since Baldwin was a Mormon polygamist, he was unable to legally leave Utah. A rival company, Wireless Specialty Apparatus, helped Baldwin set up expanded manufacturing facilities in Utah. But eventually, his refusal to patent his invention caught up with him. He died penniless after donating the residuals from his headphones business to support the ill-fated Mormon polygamist movement. Cabineted phonograph, portable record player, 1922. Portability quickly became a popular feature of early phonographs and gramophones. Long before record players were electrically powered, hand-cranked portable models like the one seen here were a much sought-after luxury. Designer Frank Hinckley refined many features of phonographs for his hand-cranked cabineted phonograph, including a speaker system that fit inside the cabinet's lid rather than having to attach an oversized cone to the device for sound reproduction. He also made its outer casing resemble a common piece of luggage, so it could be more easily stowed while traveling. This was a record player built specifically for carrying from place to play sound recordings on the go. The Walkie Talkie, 1937 to 1941. The exact origin of the Walkie Talkie is in dispute. Its creation is usually attributed to one of three possibilities: Canadian inventor Donald Hings, who created a walkie-talkie type device in 1937 for his employer; Alfred J. Gross, a radio engineer who worked on similar technology between 1938 to 1941; and a team of engineers, Dan Noble, Heinrich Magnuski, Marion Bond, Lloyd Morris, and Bill Vogel, at the Motorola Company, who manufactured the first devices used in the field by the Allies during World War II. Hings called his creation a pack set, but it became the first device to be referred to as a walkie-talkie. Early versions of the technology were only portable inasmuch as they had to be carried via a heavy backpack. Wi-Fi, 1942. Originally designed as a missile guidance system for the United States Navy, this secret communication system, as it was called in its patent application, was based upon frequency hopping, a secure method for transmitting radio signals by rapidly changing their carrier frequency across a wide frequency range. This technology became the foundation for modern Wi-Fi and cellular networks, technology via which we now stream digital audio to portable devices. This is the first image in the book that has an accompanying image on the facing page that can also be colored of the actual inventor of this device, who is Hedy Lamarr. Hedy Lamarr was an engineer and actress. After she invented the secret communication system, she hoped to continue her work in technology to help the Allies defeat the Axis powers in World War II. However, men prevented her from doing so by forcing her to pursue acting full-time, claiming that her beauty was a more useful way for her to support the war effort. This was a sexist, unintelligent, and simply wrong decision. The Regency TR1 transistor radio, 1954. The first portable transistor radio was developed and manufactured by two American companies, Texas Instruments in Dallas, Texas, and Industrial Development Engineering Associates, aka IDEA, in Indianapolis, Indiana. Texas Instruments had developed a prototype transistor radio in the years after the 1948 unveiling of the transistor, a revolution in electronics that replaced large, fragile glass tubes with tiny and durable transistors, electrical semiconductors that amplify and switch electronic signals or electrical power. No major radio manufacturer at the time was interested in Texas Instruments' transistor radio, so IDEA stepped in and helped complete the design and manage its manufacturing. The TR-1 became incredibly popular as the first radio small enough to fit into the palm of a human hand, a revolution that allowed listeners to hear radio broadcasts anywhere they went for the first time. Its compact box-like design and large circular dial made the TR-1 an early design influence upon the original iPod, released 47 years later. The TR-1 was designed by Richard C. Koch. The Traveler, a portable dictation machine, 1956. The Traveler was the portable version of 1945's SoundScriber, one of the most widely used dictation machines. They recorded sound onto soft vinyl green discs which came in 3 sizes. The machines had 2 tone arms, a recording arm that created the groove with a diamond stylus, and a pickup arm with a sapphire stylus for playback. Due to the fidelity of their recordings, their ease of use, and the ability to conveniently post the recordings through the mail, SoundScribers remained in use for 2 decades, only finally fading away after the advent of magnetic tape recorders. They were so ubiquitous that they easily found their way into popular media of the time. Notable examples include a SoundScriber as a central plot device in the 1952 Joan Crawford film noir Sudden Fear, and an appearance on an episode of I Love Lucy in 1951. The designers of the Traveler were Donald F. Ballmer, William H. Lyon, Frank E. Lung, and Edward P. Johnson. The Electroacoustic Transducer, 1962. Nearly every microphone you've ever used, including the one in your mobile, is based on a 1962 invention by Bell Laboratories scientist Dr. James E. West, along with Dr. Gerhard M. Sessler. The Electroacoustic Transducer Electret microphone became a worldwide standard due to its small size, cheap cost, accuracy, and durability. The electroacoustic transducer converts sound waves into electrical signals or vice versa, which means even your headphones likely contain electroacoustic transducers to reproduce sound wave energy. And again, on this facing page, we have an image of the designer, Dr. James E. West. And the caption on that image says, Dr. James E. West in his lab at the Bell Telephone Corporation, 1976. The Compact Cassette, 1963. With reel-to-reel tape machines unable to fully break through to the home market, since attempts to market them as a way to create your family's sound library never quite caught on, the race was on to create a more consumer-friendly form of magnetic tape. In stepped the Compact Cassette, created by a team of engineers under the leadership of Lou Ottens at Philips in Belgium, perfecting the design in 1962 and releasing it to the public at the August 1963 Berlin Radio Show. Its low price and portability helped it become a success, setting off a chain of events that would pit the world's recording industry against the plucky new technology with its infamous "Home Taping is Killing Music" campaign in the 1980s. And an example of that anti-tape marketing campaign can be seen on the facing page, which you can also color in. The Boombox, 1966. Much like the Sony Walkman after it, the portable AM/FM cassette player recorder that became known as the Boombox, or the ethnic slur Ghetto Blaster, is less a singular device than a cultural phenomenon. This transistorized multipurpose machine was first created in 1966 by Philips, the Netherlands-based company also responsible for inventing the compact cassette. While other companies in Europe, Japan, and the United States soon began manufacturing their own versions, it took a little more than a decade for the device to catch on. In the US, the rise of hip-hop culture, in particular the advent of breakdancing, made the boombox nearly ubiquitous on the streets of New York City in the late 1970s, while the amplifiers and speakers of boomboxes quickly grew more powerful to play back music for outdoor dance sessions. By the early 1980s, boomboxes added a compact disc player to their arsenal of features, along with graphic equalizers, mega bass woofers, and even lighting systems. The boombox eventually fell out of favor in the early 2000s with the introduction of the iPod. The Motorola DynaTAC 8000X mobile phone, 1973. The iconic box-shaped and antenna-spouting Miami Vice phone was invented much earlier than you might think, at the beginning of the 1970s. Two United States communications companies, AT&T and Motorola, were vying for control of a new nationwide telephony network that could be accessed on the go. AT&T thought the future was automobile-based phones, while Motorola wanted the ability to call anywhere from a mobile handheld device. Motorola proved the concept when its engineer Marty Cooper called Joel Engel, his counterpart and rival at AT&T, while walking in New York City using a functional mobile phone his team had created. And here is an image of Marty Cooper. And the caption says, Marty Cooper recreating his fateful call to Nemesis Joel Engel. The Sony Walkman, 1979. When Sony co-founders Masaru Ibuka and Akio Morita devised their portable stereo cassette player, they named it the Walkman for the Japanese market, and originally refused to call it that in other countries because they thought it wouldn't make any sense. It was originally named the Stowaway in the UK, the Freestyle in Australia and Sweden, and the Soundabout in the United States. Not only did registering multiple trademarks in each country become unruly, but the player became so popular so quickly that the name didn't seem to be a hindrance to anyone buying it, so they gave up and just stuck with Walkman. The original design, at the top of the next page, included two headphone jacks and a microphone, not for recording, but so that two people could listen together and talk to each other, as the microphone amplified their conversation through the headphones. This initial social aspect of the device never fully caught on. By the time of the sports Walkman, most models only featured a single headphone jack, ushering in a new culture of solitary, cinematic listening that was named the Walkman effect by Professor Shuhei Hosokawa. And here we have an image of the designer of the Walkman, Norio Oga. And this caption says, Norio Oga inserts a pre-recorded Mariah Carey minidisc into a minidisc Walkman. Date unknown. Koss portapro headphones, 1981. Based in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, United States, the Koss Corporation began in 1958 when jazz enthusiast and salesman John C. Koss was preparing to show off a new stereo phonograph at what he knew would be a crowded trade show. So crowded, he feared no one would be able to appreciate the clear two-channel sound of this new product. Along with engineer Martin Lang Jr., Koss designed the world's first stereo headphones in order to properly show off the phonograph's sound at the trade show. No one was very impressed by the phonograph, but its stereo sound, heard so up close for the first time via headphones, became the hit of the show, and Koss accidentally created a new personal listening experience. With the advent of Sony's Walkman igniting a worldwide portable listening craze, Koss released the portapro, a lightweight, foldable alternative to the flimsy headphones that were included with the Walkman. The portapro's unique design and superior sound quality, particularly its rich, full bass, have kept the portapro in demand ever since. They were designed by Thomas E. Pelt and Joseph C. Basassi. The jewel case for the compact disc, 1981. While Philips and Sony worked together to invent the compact disc, what became its industry standard packaging was designed at Philips in Eindhoven. According to Philips, previous design teams at both Polygram in Germany and the Netherlands first attempted to solve the problem of how to package this new media format. It proved to be a challenge since, contrary to the urban legends of the 1980s, the playable side of a CD wasn't just not indestructible, it was actually quite sensitive to scratching, and therefore needed packaging that could properly protect it. Designer Peter Doodson created the now iconic three-piece polystyrene carrying case. The injection molding process at the time was unpredictable, and when it came time to run a test mold, no one was certain the design would actually work. However, it emerged from the machine that created it in perfect condition and was nicknamed the jewel case, a name that stuck. The iPod, 2001. When Steve Jobs announced the original iPod, a small device for storing and playing digital audio files, he pulled the then tiny but now rather bulky-looking gadget from his jeans pocket, declaring it was the dawn of a new age in portable sound. 1,000 songs in your pocket, he said. This was based on Apple's own arbitrary maths, which claimed songs were an average of 4 minutes long. They also had to be saved in 128 kilobyte per second MP3 format to make it to the magic 1,000 number. Its then futuristic clickwheel interface made fumbling through a box of cassette tapes look like slapstick, although now the clickwheel itself feels outdated compared to the touchscreens of most electronic doodads these days. Designed by Tony Fadell. The world's smallest camera flip phone, 2006. Upon its release in 2006, the Pantech C300 was dubbed the world's smallest camera flip phone. It measured a mere 2.72 by 1.69 by 0.76 inches. But to our chief curator, that's me, who used it as his primary mobile from 2008 to 2011, it will always be the one that got away, because he has no knowledge of what ultimately happened to his own after he replaced it with a Motorola Razr Red Edition. As a result of this unrequited longing for a lost object, he made the drawing of the C300 you see here, available for your coloring in pleasure. And now, the final device in the book. Google Body Temperature Headphones, 2018, unproduced as of yet. What does the future hold for portable sound technology? As of this writing, the production of portable sound as we know it, devices and accessories that enable people to listen to recorded or live broadcast sound, are most notably being controlled by technology companies like Apple, Amazon, and Google. The capitalist strategy of planned obsolescence, intentionally designing a product to function temporarily while preventing the consumer from carrying out their own repairs in order to force the seasonal repurchase of the same items over and over again, has dominated the way mobile phones and now headphones and earbuds have developed over the past 2 decades. With nothing to tether them to the previous history of portable sound technology, advances such as the abandonment of the 3.5mm headphone jack killed off the backwards compatibility of headphones and sound-making devices that had existed for over half a century. As long as technology companies remain in control of portable sound devices, these products will no longer be focused on sound and listening, but instead will become portals to other markets for the tech giants to infiltrate, such as this 2018 patent awarded to Google for in-ear health monitoring, essentially a pair of headphones that keeps track of the user's body temperature. What does that have to do with listening? Absolutely nothing. But it has everything to do with Google insinuating itself into the world's healthcare supply chain, one particularly lucrative, growing, and privacy-threatening market in the post-COVID-19 world. Have fun coloring in the rich white guy. After the devices, there's a 2-page section of waveforms of sounds that are contained in the Museum of Portable Sound's permanent collection. And I'll just read to you what the sounds are. The first one is Falling Off a Camel at the Great Pyramid of Giza from Gallery 2, Animals, Object 13. Next is A Pink River Dolphin in the Amazon River, Gallery 4, Underwater Life, Object 5. The Highest Waterfall in Germany, Gallery 5, Weather and Water, Object 10. The Oldest Recording of a Human Voice, Gallery 8, History of Audio Recording, Object 1. Street Crossing Signal in Lisbon, Portugal, Gallery 9, Audio Interfaces, Object 22. Malfunctioning MacBook, Gallery 11, Glitches, Object 2. Sigmund Freud's Toilet, Gallery 17, Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling, Object 1. Deserted House After a Tornado, Gallery 19, Interiors, Object 4. Walking in Corfu, Greece, Gallery 21, Walks, Object 1. Wobbly Tram in Vienna, Gallery 25, Transport, Object 20. Big Ben's Final Bongs, 2017. Gallery 26, Bells and Clocks, Object 11. Sistine Chapel, Gallery 20, Museums, Object 7. The final page of the coloring book is an advertisement for the Museum of Portable Sound. That's me and Winnie the Pooh and Christopher Robin. And that is the end of our book. So I hope you have enjoyed hearing what is in the book. Again, here is the front cover to remind you of what it looks like so you can find it on our website. Thank you for your attention today, and statues aren't history, and Black Lives Matter. Goodbye.